everything is in practical situation. So that means you can perform those things in computer. So that's why I'm talking all this. So this one is lecture number 23, and here first I will talk about radial basis regression, and that means in short we call it radial basis, RBF, radial basis function. This notation you might have already seen many where. So radial basis function regression, and afterward I will talk about penalization. So same, this regression is having also in the same pattern. Only difference is that we are taking in the basis function, we are taking uh, function in the form of a radial. So if you are taking a jth component of the basis function, so it is having a definition. So radial basis function can be defined through several approach. So one of the simplest approach we are defining through Gaussian approach. Through Gaussian you can define radial basis function. So it is defined like this way: exponential of that. What is the Gaussian distribution? Suppose x is univariant, that means so it would be, there is a space crunch. So a radial basis function will define it like this way. In module 1 I had already discussed this one. X is what it is a simple attribute, that means only one attribute is there. So we will define radial basis for that x. So how we define exponential, that one is coming directly through Gaussian. So minus of x minus xi, or better you can put it here right now, mean mu I. Later I will change it as or mu I all square divided by twice of sigma square. This is the approach of defining radial basis function. Okay, so j is here, j would come j. So this here we are defining several basis function we will define, but here we are having only one attribute. With respect to this attribute we can define various features through feature map, this kind of feature map, and enhance as much as you want. You can go up to phi 1 phi 2, and if you want a p-dimensional feature of space, then you can take p number of feature map or basis function. That means you are increasing the dimension of your state space to p-dimensional feature space. So that is the, so definitely dimension will increase. P is very very greater than here dimension of this state. What it would be, it may be, you can call it, it may be s. So it is very very greater than s. So p is a very big number, so definitely you will face problem. So how you can rectify that? That you can rectify with the help of penalization, that I will discuss. So all are having algorithmic approach. So coming to outline of this lecture, first I would talk about the radial basis regression. Afterward I will talk about penalization. Okay. Here first, in order to introduce radial basis regression, what we have to do, in short RBG, first we need to introduce the radial basis. Yeah, despite of that I had already introduced in model 1. Again I will recall it. So how we define radial basis. Okay, so uh, there actually characterization feature is that the response increases monotonically with distance from central point. The characterization of radial basis is that as you go far away from the central point, the that radial basis it will decrease it as it will go from the central point. If if you come toward the central point, then it will increase. Okay, so this center the distance scale, the center what we are calling it the distance scale, and the precise shape of the radial basis are the parameter of the model. So there would be a precise shape. Okay, so that shape we will get it from what is the variability. So that variance term would be there. There is a center or there is a variance term. So see what I had mu j I had written and sigma square I had taken. So a typical radial basis is the following Gaussian. So with the help of Gaussian we can define a radial basis. It is actually local and give a significant response only in a neighborhood of near the center. Neighborhood near the center. It is talk about locally. It is defining. So a ith radial basis function or jth you can call it. It is defined like this way. Here, one situation is that we suppose we are having data set xi, yi varies from 1 to n. 1 to n, I varies from up to what is the sample size, it depends upon that scenario, it may take. Now here what you observe, so definitely it is having Gaussian, but r here you will call it in radial sense, that's why r square we are taking it in place of sigma square, we are taking r square. And regarding the center of the radial basis, what we do for simplicity, we are taking the data point itself, xj. Xj itself we are taking as a center of the that a specific radial basis function. So with respect to each data point, if there are n number of data points, then we can define n number of radial basis. So that one is one convention. You can go for another kind of also that center of the radial basis, that you can take midpoint, you can take, but always do in computational fashion. That means whatever data, and the data is, that one is in your hand. From the data you try to define your feature map, this radial function. So from there try to define it. Either other option is that you, what you do, you can take also sample mean of the attribute. So whatever n number of attribute you are having, so you can take central mean. So that, again there would be problem, because there would be unique central sample mean. So it would be not it is not giving localness nature. So better approach is that center take xj or xi. So each attribute, the given attribute take as a center. Each value of each object value of the attribute take as a center and define the radial function. So a radial function, it is just taking a Gaussian structure, because it is defined from the Gaussian distribution. That's why it is taking Gaussian structure. And suppose this one is x center around xi or xj. Here xj notation I have taken, so I am calling it xj. So likewise, another data point is here. Then you will get Gaussian like this way. Like this way. So for xj plus 1, it would be for xj plus 1. So locally you are defining. So these radial bases are defined locally in the neighborhood of all those observed value of the attribute. If you are taking xj minus 1, then you will have another set of Gaussian centered at xj minus 1. It will have like this way. So localness is there due to this radial basis approach. Okay, so that's why we are defining. So we can have as much as you want that basis function, you can define it here, radial basis function. Now I will talk about radial regression. That means it is radial basis regression. What is that? That is simply that in place of basis we are taking radial basis function. General basis, that in when you are taking polynomial basis, it would be polynomial regression. When you are taking a spline basis, it is a spline regression. When you are taking radial basis function, it is a radial basis regression. That is the sense. So consider we are having at hand, we are having a number of data points. That means a sample of size n. Simply we are saying that. So we are willing to estimate a least square estimate of the what we call it prediction function, that conditional expectation y given x. So and in order to estimate this least square estimate of the prediction function, what we do, we are putting a linear assumption that it is a linear combination of a special kind of feature map that happens to be radial basis function and centered at xi. These xi, that means observed value of the attribute. Okay, what you have, what is your xi? These n number of xi's are at your hand. Through that you are trying radial basis function. So what would be the structure of the model? It is a linear model, you can see that. So it would be the linear combination of basis function, radial basis function, where j varies from 0 to p. It depends upon what dimension you want to take. You want to take here p may be less than n, or may, it depends. If you take various other mixture, then it may p may be greater than n. It depends upon what choice you want to proceed with. So that is the scenario. So p is the intensely I haven't taken n, p equal to n. It may be, but intensely I have taken a general p. So here it is talking that we are taking p number of basis function. P number of basis function. That means p number of starting from p plus 1 basis function, or starting from j equal to 0, p plus 1. So that means at hand we are having p plus 1 parameter, that omega, all these. So this one, and in the similar fashion we can convert that in the compact notation as a dot product of omega, that p plus 1 dimensional vector, and this vector function which is call it here phi notation. Phi, same notation it will be good. There is no phi notation. So here phi of this basis, simply this we are calling it basis, and having this component is phi naught of xi up to phi p of xi. So it is defined. So it is coming with respect to ith sample. This linear model we are defining with respect to ith sample. Likewise, if you vary all the sample from 1 to n, then what will happen? You will get a response vector with n number of component. N number of component response vector you will get it. And what is this first basis vector? It is a very trivial kind of basis vector. That means it is equal to 1. Equal to 1. Why? It is coming with respect to intercept coefficient or parameter omega naught. Generally we always define linear model like omega naught plus omega 1 times phi 1 of x, plus it will go up to omega p times phi of phi p of x. So this is the situation. So here there is no involvement of x is here. Why? Because it is in bias term, or you can call it intercept term. So in order to make things systematic, we are introducing that it is multiplied with 1, and 1 is the zeroth basis function. Zeroth basis function. That's where this one equal to, we are putting it equal to 1. This one equal to 1. So that concept, just for notation convention, we are coming with zeroth basis function. Otherwise it is just equal to 1. We don't see x there. Okay, it is otherwise basis function start with phi 1. Start with phi 1, it will go up to phi p. Now again we observe the same notation, that we are having n number of sample points. So we are defining a response vector with n number of component, y1 with respect to first sample, y2 with respect to second sample, likewise yn with respect to nth sample. So we are getting n dimensional nth response vector. Now what we do with respect to each sample, collect the value of basis function for all these samples. So in that process, it would be your first column containing 1 1 1 1 vector, simply one vector. All component in the first column would be one vector. Then second would be phi 1, the containing the value of basis function for each sample, that x1 x2 x3, it will go up to xn for each sample point. Okay, so it will go. So likewise second column you will get, and likewise fifth column you get. So I have explicitly written this is the jth column, what we are calling it jth column. We are defining like this way, and there is an involvement of unknown parameter omega, that happens to be p plus 1 dimension. It is p plus 1 dimension. Okay, p plus 1 dimension. So this is the parameter vector that we want to estimate. So simply if you go for concise representation of this radial basis representation for n number of sample, what you do, You can get a matrix vector representation like this way: y equal to x time omega plus epsilon, where x is your data matrix given by this. X is the data matrix, it is given by this. And if you try to find an approximate solution of this one, if you forget this epsilon term, then this y equal to x times omega, it would be inconsistent system. Either you apply uh, concept from orthogonal concept from linear algebra, or directly you get it from the calculus approach. That means you are just minimizing the error function, a square of error function y minus x time omega, and solution of that would be, on optimal solution would be, but it is given by this pseudo matrix time y. So this one, this omega cap is one estimate of this omega, one estimate of this omega, or we simply we are calling it least square estimate of uh, this linear model. Omega is the least square estimate we are getting. The one estimated value we got it from the sample. We know that data matrix is known to us because it is constructed from the given data set and known uh, our radial basis function. Radial basis, we know about the radial basis function, we know about the data. That means we know about the data matrix. So we, everything is known to us. Y is also given to us, so easily we can calculate this one estimate of parameter. So once we are having estimate, then I will talk about inference. What are the inference? So in several times, as per previous regression, we have to talk about the error, what how much error it contains. What is, that means what is the estimation error? So estimation error, similarly we can calculate it by taking the difference of that omega hat and omega, and it can be expressed in term of what, just pseudo matrix time pseudo inverse of x. This one we are calling it pseudo inverse of x. You can denote it by x star, something like that. Their notation pseudo, there are various notation. So pseudo inverse of x times epsilon. Why we are calling it pseudo inverse? You might have already seen that in the linear model we come across to see this kind of linear system, x time omega, if you forget about uh, error term. And this, if you forget about error term, this linear system is inconsistent because y is actually not equal to x time omega, and there is some error is involved. So that's way this system is not solvable in general. So we are trying to find uh, approximate solution through this approach. Okay, so here I told that that means what is when we get a solution here, x is simply not invertible. Why we are not, because it is inconsistent, so we can't talk about inverse of this one. And this uh, data matrix, it also, it would be not what we call it a square matrix. There are various problems. Simply you can say that it is singular structure kind of things. So if someone is willing to find solution of this system, that means solution one value of omega in term of y and x. So blindly, if no information is given here and doesn't know, that person doesn't know anything about invertibility of matrix, then what that person will do, just blindly he will find, he will say that solution of this system would be, one solution candidate would be x inverse times y. But you know that inverse, this one is not possible, so we can't do that kind of thing. So what we do in place of that, we will do another thing. We will do that, we will find a pseudo inverse, call it x star. So this one is the pseudo inverse x star times y, and that x star is coming like this way. This is this component, three component are having, it is having three component of the same data matrix. This is the pseudo inverse time epsilon. So you can get direct one uh, representation of estimation error. So in term of pseudo matrix, pseudo inverse time epsilon error, the error vector what you are having. Okay, and further we know that again we come across through this least square estimation technique. So this estimate of omega, it would be also unbiased estimate. This one is just unbiased estimate. And variance would be also, can be expressed, variance of that omega hat, it can given x, it can be expressed as a sigma square time this inverse of x transpose ax in terms of data matrix. Sigma inverse sigma square is what, it is the variance of error. So either this would be given, or you can calculate, estimate it. You can estimate it. So this would be generally this would be given to you. Generally, we are taking normal kind of normal error. So for that sigma square, you can get it from normal table easily. You can get it. Okay. Now further a few example if you try to see it here. So these are the data it is coming, suppose these data are coming from sine function, fake data, we are generating fake data, and we are not taking direct measurement, we are taking fake data from some specific function like a sine function, and just we did a scatter plot of that. It is coming dot, those dot are talking about a scatter plot. Okay, and what we do, we are taking 10 number of radial basis function. Take 10 number of radial basis function, that p equal to 10 here. Okay, p equal to 10, and by using those and define the linear model like this way, y equal to uh, I varies from, or better j, I have taken notation, j varies from 0 to 10 omega j phi of j. So you are having x, you are having here every information. What is phi of j? Phi, phi j of x is defined as in term of, suppose no information is given to you, take a standard basis, a standard normal distribution like this, not a standard, or you can take unit variance. There is no x minus xj whole square divided by twice of r. This is your radial basis. This you can take it, and all j xj you know about, it is given to you. So these are the xj, these from fake data. Now by optimizing, converting this one into linear system, x plus data matrix times omega plus epsilon, and after that find an least square estimate of this one omega cap, and using that you will get what, y cap, it would be equal to x times data matrix times this one, and if you plot through that you will get this fit. This is the fit. So you can observe that it is more localized. You can observe that various change of concavity you observe here, different curvature, here different curvature, even curvature is not smooth, it is changing a lot. Here different curvature, different curvature. So it is giving a better fit through radial basis approach. You can get a better fit of the given data set using the radial basis approach. Another thing is that if you increase the radial basis function, definitely what your that fitting will improve. You can see that this one is more improved version of more improved fit of the data. So you can observe that. So 20 here, p equal to 20. If you take p 20 number of basis radial basis function, then you improve much more improved fit. But what will happen if you keep on increasing the number of radial basis function, then you are just leading towards over parameterization. That means you're increasing the dimension of the data. If you are increasing the dimension of the feature space, then problem would be there with computational issue, or what we are calling it in terms of curse of dimensionality. So that problem will come. So one thing here, you can take it here, over parameter situation I have taken it like this way. So this one is talking about exact fit. So it is somehow you come with optimal number of parameter, through that you get an exact fit of the this sine function. The data has been generated, those circle are talking about a scatter plot of the data, x versus y. X is coming along horizontal axis, y is coming along vertical axis. So and after that what we do, we are taking a p, taking in optimal fashion in such a way that p number of basis function is giving a very optimal fit of this one. This one is the optimal fit of the given point. So you can see that everywhere it is giving fit. So you can say that it is one kind of interpolation, you don't see any error. So that means we luckily we did a very good fit of the data through that radial basis approach. But if someone is increasing the basis here, number of basis function, if number of basis function is very big, In that case, what is happening? Definitely, that fit would pass through every point of the given given data set, every point of the given. You can see that this red line, it is passing through every point, but does it give actual fit? It is not giving actual fit. That means here a training error is zero, but your testing error is just very increasing. It is increasing. Okay, so that is the issue. So it is not a good example of fitting given data with radial basis. It is not a good regression. It is not good. So if you proceed with so there are many bump you can observe. So it is not a good fit. We don't need this kind of our parameterized situation. And definitely if you try to proceed with this model and do prediction based on this one, then definitely you will face problem. That prediction would be very wrong prediction. Like if you come to here near about 7 and you take any value of x with respect to that. If you want to predict the value of y under this function, value of y would be here, but in actual function value of y it should be here. So there is a difference. It is not a good prediction. Even you can talk about this situation. If you under some x you will get a predicted value of y here. This would be the predicted value of y, but actual value lies here. There is a gap, very big gap. You can see it here. So that's way. Also same situation, if you take any predicted value of y for some x here, it would be here, but actual value of y is here. So that's why there is a gap between predicted value and actual value of y. That's why prediction is not good in case of over parameterization or overfitting. Over parameterization and overfitting both are same. That means we are taking very high number of basis functions. So that's why over parameterization. So this is a problem, very big problem. So we have to tackle it out. So we can tackle it through penalization. So that technique I will talk it here. So you can just consider this one is not only for this radial basis regression. You can apply it for other basis representation of basis form of the regression, that for polynomial, for spline, everything. For every such kind of regression you can apply penalization technique whenever. So technique is common. So that technique here we are going to discuss first. So in order to just apply that penalization, first I will recall linear predictor. What does it? So I had already expressed that in this regression process, using some basis function, we come across a linear system y equal to data matrix time parameter vector omega plus epsilon. Okay, what we are saying that from here we apply some kind of optimization technique, that whether it is least square method or whether it is maximal likelihood or map, and we come across one estimate of omega, that we are calling it omega cap. So this one is the estimate of this one, and you can get a explicit form of this one. It is x transpose x inverse x transpose y. It is one estimate of y with respect to given sample. So you can x is, this one is a matrix. I'm putting it in bold. Okay, this is the matrix. So this is estimate, we are getting it. Now using this estimate of parameter, we can define a predicted value of y. So what is happening, that predicted value of y, it would be what, x times the data matrix time y cap. So what is it? This one is linear in what? It is in linear. So data, it is coming matrix times something is always a linear term. So always it is linear. So our matrix is a linear transformation, always we used to say. So it is giving a prediction. This x time omega cap is giving prediction of y, that we say y cap. But what prediction it, what nature it is? This one is linear in nature. So that's why we are calling it linear predictor of y. So given a data set having n number of sample point and or n number of data point, we define a linear model with a suitably chosen basis function. Okay, this is the model, linear model. This is the linear model. This is what we are saying, prediction function or regression function, and there we are putting linear approach, linearization through some basis function. This is linear model. It is linear in term. Afterward, what we do to get an estimate of the parameter, we are defining some kind of what we call it error criterion function. So one simplest error criterion function is coming like this way: least square error. This is the least square through least square approach. Here we are getting like this way. We have to find least value of this square error, the least square error that we are calling it. Or also, okay, we can call it residual sum of a square as well. So if you call it a fitted function, then the residual name, just name is changing, everything is same. So here what will happen, we will get a linear predictor of y in this form. This is the linear predictor of y, what we are getting in term of uh, so this y is vector. This one is a single value, observed value of y cap times it is coming like way. Just here we are replacing omega by estimated value of omega. So this term phi, that basis function, dot product of basis function with estimated value, we are getting a linear estimate, linear predictor of y. So what is happening, a method that attempts to capture nonlinearity in x through some basis function, it will allow to increase the dimension of the problem. So there is a high dimension issue. So that high dimension issue leads to curse of dimensionality, because that's why we are calling it curse of dimensionality. That one is a very big problem of learning problem. Curse of, so how we can get over that? So in next slide I will talk about that curse of dimension. This problem, this high dimensional issue leads to curse of dimensionality, what we are calling. So here we have to define one penalty. That penalty lead to get a smooth estimator, or the approach that we are calling it, that penalty we are putting it, that we are trying to get our roughness of that problem, or so that's why you can call it roughness penalty. So to overcome the density issue, one has to associate often an implicit or adaptive matrix. Adaptive, that means it is in your hand, which controls the estimate by explicitly penalizing the given error criterion function with a roughness penalty. So that means this one is your error function, error criterion function, simply we are calling it. Over that we are putting this I am talking when this roughness penalty. This is the roughness penalty we are putting it. So this penalty, another term people are also calling it regularizer term. So this one is always user defined or user selected. So the user selected functional, this j of f, it will be large for functions that are rapidly much rapidly too much in a small region, then this roughness would be very large. So uh, so we have to see that how to truncate those things, how to get over those so here it is talking about measure of roughness of f, but f we have taken it parametric form. F we have taken parametric form like this one in the linear representation: omega transpose phi of x. This we have taken, or phi transpose omega, both are same. So that means penalty will be imposed over weight vector or omega, the parameter. It would be imposed over parameter. That means equivalent, imposing penalty over the hypothesis function is equivalent to imposing penalty over the parameter omega. So both are same, because we are going for parameterization approach. So just for example, the popular cubic a smooth spline, if you are putting a smooth this penalty term in one dimensional situation, and the penalty term we are defining it through least square criterion, then you can get this is the penalty term. You can get it. This is the penalty term, and later you will see that it is nothing that just we need to get an explicit form of this one. So explicit form of this f of xi is what, in the linear form it is uh, omega transpose phi of x. This is the linear form. So if you are putting f is a linear function, linearized parameterized by omega, and it is linear in form, then it will take this form, and due to that, what kind of a structure it will take? So it just becomes what, a, a square of norm of omega. It becomes this term, the second term, penalizing term, it just becomes a square of a norm of omega. It is very simple kind of thing. One simple for linear case. In the case of linear model, we are talking about this penalty term. Okay, so further, so another case, if you suppose if you are taking radial basis function for radial basis function and having a scalar output, that means univariant. A scalar output means univariant response. Okay, and with many other types of basis function, either you go for radial basis or many other basis function. This can be done with a penalty criterion function of the form. In the last case, what I had already discussed. So estimation mean that means mean a square error. The square error. First define a square error. This is the square error term, and over that we are putting this is the penalty term. Penalty over the parameter omega. Okay, and if we know, if you just proceed with only this error term, a square of this y minus x time omega, then solution was just this is that we are calling it least square solution. It was x transpose x inverse of x transpose x times x transpose. This was the solution for only if you are dealing with this one. But you here, due to this linear model, this penalty term, a square of norm of omega is coming. So you can this even this one is also solvable. So you can solve this. And what is the optimal solution of this one? Because it is very much a smooth, a smoothness is coming. A square function is always a smooth. A smooth means it is dealing with differentiability. So it is very much a differentiable kind of a structure it is having. So if you try to find the optimal solution of this problem, so what is the optimal solution? X transpose x inverse of x transpose x plus lambda times identity matrix, inverse of this matrix time this one. So one additional factor is coming here. This is the, it is coming due to that a smoothness parameter. And lambda, what we are, you can call it a smoothness parameter, you can call it. Even this solution is very simple. If you need probabilistic explanation, there is a probability explanation. If you want algebraic explanation, there is algebraic one. So very easy to get this solution. This, so also in the case of penalty, only in the linear model only. If you are taking non-linear model, then you will face problem. In case of linear model, so this is one candidate of penalty. You can take another candidate of penalty, that omega 1 norm. This one is a square of 2 norm. You can take also 1 norm. So 1 norm is another kind of penalty. But if you are taking a square of this L2 norm, this penalty we are calling it ridge penalty or decay penalty. Another name, one name is ridge penalty, another name is decay penalty. We are calling it. So the first term, you can see it here in this error term. The first term we are calling it data term, because it is directly coming from the data. Because x is what? It is a data matrix. It is directly coming from data. And y is the response vector. Again, that one is coming from the given data set. So everything, only unknown is omega, and that measure the model fit from the training data. It is measuring the model fit. Okay, now if we come to second term, so we are calling it a smoothness term or penalty term. A smoothness term or penalty term. So it is putting penalty over the omega. So it penalizes, which is not meaningful, that will go to 0, which is meaningful, that will have a certain value. So that, so just in order to make things smooth, that means generally if you try to see, then non-smoothness pattern you will observe. But the basis function with which non-smoothness you observe, you can penalize that to 0 to truncate, to completely remove of that basis function, that part of basis function, in order to get a smooth structure. Okay, so that's where this one is very helpful. So this particular smoothness term, what we are calling it here, a square of L2 norm of omega is coming. We can call it weight decay, because I had told that parameter another name is weight also. So there is a decay in weight, we can call it, and because it tends to make the weights smaller. So decay word, because we always try, here minimizing. So always this one is involved in error term. So what is intention? Always we try to minimize. So that's where it get smaller and smaller. Okay. So weight decay implicitly leads to a smoothness with a radial basis function because the basis function themselves are a smooth. If you take radial basis function, those are defined from Gaussian. Gaussian distribution is always a smooth. Gaussian function is always a smooth. So rapid changes in the slope of f created by only those radial basis function which are having large weight. Large weight. Only those we will take it. Okay, so one example you can see it here like this. So this is the smooth. It is coming with respect to a smooth estimator. This one is a smooth estimator. You can see that. So simply, what you do that you are putting that penalty term. Due to that, your fit is now more smooth. So that is that. So like linear predictor you had got, you can get a smooth predictor. Linear predictor you are getting with respect to how you are getting omega cap uh, times phi of dot product of this this one is coming. But if you apply a smoothness condition, call it s, omega cap s, this one would be a smooth predictor. That means it is very good in case of high dimensional situation. So this one is, and this is the smooth predictor. So that we are getting, this you are getting with respect to just linear predictor, and this you are getting with respect to a smooth predictor. Okay, any question you can ask, otherwise this is the last class of what a linear model for regression.